Welcome to Expert in You Showcase, the podcast where elite entrepreneurs and business experts share powerful insights and strategies to elevate your business and life. I'm your host, Carden, and I'm thrilled to have you here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Today, my guest is Jason Moss. And I came across Jason, I believe, on social media and loved what he was doing. And so much of what he does aligns with what I do in my business. But we've already been diving into some great conversation that I think is going to be really insightful for you today. So, Jason, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here, and thank you for allowing me to share with your audience.
Yes, absolutely. I love having experts on. You've been just crushing it out there in the online world, and you work with entrepreneurs, really helping them grow online businesses. And how did you originally get into this, Jason? What was your background?
And I think most folks, you probably ask folks who are doing what we do now, like, how did you do that? And it was just this weird series of twists and turns. Like I didn't wake up one day and say, I'm going to do this, but I I always had a passion for coaching people and helping other people. And when I was a kid, my friends affectionately used to call me Dr. Phil because I had this couch in my garage and people would come when they had problems, they would come and I'd ask them to sit down on the couch and I would coach them and I'd tell them what I thought they should do. This was before I learned how to be a good coach. I used to always get very frustrated because they would never listen and I'd be like, why can't you just do the thing? So that was me growing up. I studied music in college, and my first real official online business was I started a business online, a coaching business online, teaching other musicians how to record and mix their own music, which is what
Oh.
I had learned in college and grew that business to six figures and learned so much and signed over 1,000 clients and just it was really like a master class in learning how to do what I now help other people do. And after that, spent some time as a director of sales with one of my close friends, helping him scale his coaching business, and then became a business coach. So a series of strange diversions and turns that led me to the work that I get to do today. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it, and I love getting to help other entrepreneurs.
I love it. So is most of what you do, is it really around the business side or is it more around the mindset side? A lot of people call themselves like business coaches or business consultants, but they really do more mindset than they actually do like business strategy. So where do you fall in the coaching space?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the truth is they're one and the same. I don't actually believe in business growth. This might be a controversial take. I don't believe you can grow your business at least without growing yourself. And my experience, at least in my own journey through entrepreneurship, is that personal growth has always preceded business growth. And I actually look at the business as this beautiful mirror. In other words, the business that we have is a perfect reflection for who you are on the inside. And so I see a lot of entrepreneurs, they spend a lot of time focused on strategy and those things are important, marketing plan and content plan and all these things. We got to have, those foundations in the business, but it's really hard to scale a business without changing and looking at who you are. So the real growth in my experience comes from the inside out. And the
Mhm.
thing that I get most excited about when I work with entrepreneurs is helping them become who they need to be on the inside in
Mhm.
order to hold that next level of success. And what I found, at least in my own life and in the clients that I work with, is when we take that inside out approach, the business naturally grows as a result of that inner expansion.
It's interesting. I have a little bit of a different philosophy in the fact that I think you need mindset and strategy both. I see a lot of people that they have a certification around that and they teach it, but their business doesn't grow because they don't understand the strategy. They're not taking the right actions in their business, even though looking at them, they're impacting other people and how other people are living their life and growing. So I do believe that you need both. I always say your mindset has to go to the next level before your business can, but you can also have a mindset that is at that next level, but you are still doing the wrong things.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
that will stop you too. So, but I totally agree with what you're saying. It has to come from the inside. You have to grow. You have to realize that every step in your business success is going to require a new level of growth. It's going to require something different from you and for you to learn new skills and all of those things. So it absolutely is a foundation for being able to be highly successful. So it does sound like you are a little bit more maybe on the mindset side. Is that accurate or not so much?
Yeah, I tend to just look at what does someone need, and
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, at least my lens is I tend to focus inside out. So if I had to answer the question, I would say, yeah, I'm probably more of an inside out kind of guy. I mean, I spent the first few years of my coaching business really focused on strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And what used to drive me nuts, and I for years I didn't understand this because I used to give two people the same strategy, and one person would take that
Mm,
and they'd triple their business, and I
yeah.
could give the same exact thing to somebody else, and their business would stay exactly the same.
Yeah.
And
No, that's
so
true. Mm-hmm.
there's I think what you're saying I completely agree with. There is this marriage between the inner and the
Mm-hmm.
outer. We've got to have both, and it's just about being able to kind of discern like what's really missing for somebody, and where's
Yeah.
that work.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's important too, to realize that I know for me, when I'm helping people in their business, there always has to be a level of mindset work that has to go into that because you have to get them through hurdles and you have to get them over humps and get them they're going to be uncomfortable with growth. So you have to be able to get them through those things as well. And even sometimes get them through breakdowns, right? When things
Yeah.
don't go quite the way they want. So yes, absolutely. I think it's super, super important, um, the work that you do, but I don't think you can really separate the two. They really, you said it very nicely. They really have to almost like be a marriage. They have to be really cohesive. In my opinion, they have to be cohesive in a
Yeah,
business
100%.
for it to really go somewhere. I love it. What's a strategy right now? Speaking of strategy, what's a strategy right now that you're using or you're teaching that has been a real game changer for you? Maybe it's really been related to a huge revenue leap that you've had or
Mhm.
that maybe some of your clients have had. There's so much out there right now. What's working for you right now, or what's been a game changer for you?
There's so many things that have been useful and helpful, but one thing that really stands out to me is intimacy. And in a
Mm,
world where we look at what's happening in AI, and there's kind of two directions I think many businesses are taking, and I think there's a both and in the middle. But so much of what used to be human is now being replaced by automation and AI. And I think in many ways that's making our lives better. Like there was a time when I would go into the supermarket and I'd have to sit in a line and wait to get checked out by a person who would scan all my food. Now I just go through those self-checkout aisles and I scan everything myself, and I'm out faster. And for the most part, that works for me. But I think on a deeper level, in a world where so much of what used to be human is now being replaced, there's this deeper yearning and desire for real, authentic human connection. And it's rare. And because it's rare, we value it more.
mhm.
So when I look at marketing, I mean, so much of what the conventional business world says is intimacy doesn't scale, and let's automate the human out, and let's scale everything through automation and content, and make it so that you can just have a system that runs without you being involved. And I think there's value to that mindset. And what I've seen in my own business, for example, we just started doing this about a month and a half ago. We have this scaling blueprint thing that we added on the front end where someone can actually fill out a form. And this is something that because we run a lot of ads, so it's something that we've been using on our thank you page. They fill out a form, it goes to me, and I basically review their business, and I record a quick, it's like a 5-minute personalized video for them. That's basically like, hey, here's what's working, here's your biggest opportunities. We've booked so many sales calls off the back
Mhm.
of those looms because people are just like, wow, this is a real human being who actually took the time to review my
Yes.
business. It's crazy how rare that is.
Mhm.
So the question I'm often asking clients is how can we strategically layer in intimacy on top of what we're
Mm,
doing. This doesn't mean in a way that's going to burn you out where you got to send, cold DMs to 10,000 people that you don't know. I'm talking about doing it in a way that's intentional, that is leveraged, but
mhm,
allows us to build in those human touch points and connections. And I think the more that we can do that in a business, and the more that we can kind of challenge that mindset of like there's a time and place for that, and more so, no, this is something that happens at every stage of business. It just changes as you grow and scale.
mhm.
I think the more revenue you're going to make.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. We are so on the same page. I've had a high touch model for years, and I had groups and I just didn't enjoy them as much as working with clients and in a level, of high touch. It's also the model that I teach people. Not that you can't do groups, but I teach high touch groups. I teach really high end groups. So if you are going to have a group, they are intimate. They get that level from you or from me that you're the expert. Nothing is more frustrating. I know you've probably been through these programs, Jason, where you go through a program or you get in there and the person that was running the program or that was the brilliant person behind all the money that was made in that program, you don't even see them. You don't even talk to
Mhm.
them. You don't even, and so then you're being coached by someone who's never run a business, or you're being coached by someone who was maybe a customer of theirs at one time, right? And there are so many of those programs out there. In some ways, I really hope those do go away because I do not think they've served people. I think they've hurt our industry in a lot of ways, in the fact that people think they're buying into one thing, and then because they're just so revenue focused and there's such a lack of client focus, I think it's really hurt the industry. I think a lot of people have found that they have invested money into things like that haven't really come back to them in the way that they could have.
Yeah.
I That's my problem with courses too. I know courses have a place. I feel like courses actually, Jason, you can see if you feel this way. I feel like courses are actually better for someone like you and I who really know our stuff and we want to just learn one thing. Like we don't,
Yeah.
they're not, but a lot of people are being taught really, that they for some reason they think that they can build a business with $47 courses and free webinars and things like that. And to me, all those things, you're piecemealing your business together. You have no clue what you're doing there, or if it's even the right path for you. And so I feel like there is a place for courses, but I feel like they're for people like you and I that are already having success. And maybe we see a gap. Like I just bought into something to be a better speaker. And I've been
Mhm.
speaking for 40 years, but I'm always still learning and wanting to grow. Right. So that a course for me is great there. I don't necessarily need to work with somebody to do that. So I would love to know your thought on that.
Yeah, well, it's a fascinating, question, and I think I agree with you. I mean, I think there's value in everything. What I learned on my own journey, particularly as I became more experienced as an entrepreneur, initially it was like, this is the way, and there's one path,
Mhm.
and let me just buy into someone else's model of like, here's how it needs to be done. And I was much more on this mindset of I'm just looking for steps that I can replicate. And the more I evolved as an entrepreneur, the more I realized that there really isn't one way. And that the way that's going to work for me is probably going to be very different from the way that worked for somebody else. Doesn't mean that that way is wrong. It just means that we're all wired differently. And to me, the true key to sustainability in a business is when you're showing up in a way and building a model in a way that's aligned with who you are and your
Yes.
strengths and how you're supposed to
Mhm.
show up. The challenge with courses and group programs, and I ran a group program for years, and I deeply care about, every single person I work with. It's challenging to be able to provide that level of customization
It
in a group
is.
format. So
Mhm.
generally what you get is when you buy into something like a group program or a course, you get a system. And
Mhm.
that system is usually something that was built by the person that created it, who had a way of doing something that worked for them. And
Mhm.
then they put that into a course. And it's like, here, if you follow these steps, you're going to be successful too. The problem is, if you're not wired like that person,
Right. Right.
that may not work for you. And I spent years running
Mhm.
businesses in ways that worked for somebody else, but didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And what I found was that's the path to burnout. it's the path to just a business that feels like a grind.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we talked about this earlier, maybe we'll get into this, but about 6 months ago, I made the transition away from, we shut down our group program and
Mm-hmm.
I migrated what many people would say is backwards to one-to-one mentorship. And what I love about one-to-one mentorship is that we can actually truly customize that model around each individual. And the result is more sustainability. It's a business that feels like you, which I think is what most people want. And more profitability, I think, in the long term. So I don't think these things are wrong. I think it's just about having the self-awareness to know who you are,
And where you
and
shine. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and to not necessarily look to copy somebody else's version of success, but to really define what success looks like for you.
Yes, 100%. I'm so aligned with this because, again, this is my model. It's what I've always done in my coaching space. And I ran group programs too, but I would get to a place where, okay, I don't want to do this. And I actually want to dive into this because you and I kind of had this conversation before we started recording. And you were talking about, I said, well, why did you shut down your group? And you said, well, really what you were saying is, the level of client that I was working with was not really where I wanted to work. And I was in that same place at one time. The clients that I was working with were not the clients that lit me up. I felt like they were great people and they were wonderful, but for the level of skills that I had and the knowledge and the experience that I had, I felt I never got to use that because it was such a long runway. When you're bringing people from zero, it's a long runway before you really get to use a lot of skills and knowledge and things that you have acquired and things that I've acquired. So it gets to a place where it doesn't really light you up in your business. You feel kind of unfulfilled. And that was the case for me, at least.
Yeah,
And it sounds like it was for you as well.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's been an interesting journey. The beautiful thing about, I think about the work that we do is, we're all evolving and growing. And as
Mm-hmm.
coaches, as mentors, as people, generally, like people who I find, at least in this field, is like we're always pushing our own edge. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know about you, but I feel like I'm a different person than I was, even 5 years ago. I've
Oh,
learned so much. I've grown
3
so
years
much.
ago. Yes,
Right.
100%. Yes, it's
And
moving
so
at a
there's
fast
this.
pace.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's a beautiful thing. And what's difficult about that, it's not necessarily difficult, but it can be challenging in the context of a business, is that there's this magic that happens when you're at a place in your growth and you're the clients that you're working with, or maybe a couple steps, I don't even want to say behind you, but there's this kind of proximal zone where, like,
Mhm,
they're maybe close to where you are and you feel like you're able to serve them in a way that is kind of like right on your edge. But then as you
mhm,
grow, that changes, and there can be this increasing disconnect. And I've seen this with so many clients I've worked with who have been in the game for a while, where it's like, okay, that those clients used to light me up, but now I'm a different person, and
mhm,
I'm feeling called to work with a different type of client. So that's how it was for me. I mean, I've been running, our business for several years, working primarily with new entrepreneurs, and it just started feeling more and more like I'm feeling much more excited about supporting folks who are further along and
yeah,
helping folks scale and grow. And yet I built this business where we had a very successful business. We were doing over 500,000 a year in sales,
mhm,
helping new entrepreneurs. And I chose to let that go. And it was probably one of the hardest chapters of my journey as an entrepreneur.
mhm.
And we took a big revenue hit for a while as we were rebuilding audience and in a new space. And for a while, I was like, maybe I can do both. This is a big mistake folks
Oh,
make.
yeah. Oh, we're gonna talk about this.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've been through
Mm.
all the iterations of it before we came out the other side, so we can definitely dive in.
Yeah. No, that's so true. Hi, friend. I have an exciting announcement. I hope you're enjoying this episode of Expert in You podcast, but I have to ask you, have you checked out the latest issue of Expert in You magazine yet? It's jam packed with rich content, powerful strategies, inspiring stories, and so much more to help you elevate your business and personal growth. Don't miss out. Go grab your digital copy now and join our community of experts making a difference every day. Go to expertinyoumagazine.com and check out your digital copy today. Transform your expertise into success with Expert in You magazine. It's not just a publication, it is a movement. First of all, I want to congratulate you that you did let something go that no longer served you. This is such a hard part of leveling up, and people don't realize this when they're trying to step into that next stage, that bigger, that better client. So often they are so afraid to let things go. I think about one of my clients recently, and she wanted $100,000 program. And so I said, we'll put it together. We're going to position you for that. But she was so afraid to like change up her positioning because this other positioning had served her for years, and she had a name. She had built up a name, but it was so funny as we were working together and she started getting traction with what we were doing and her husband but she still kind of kept one foot one foot behind, right? And her husband finally said, are you just going to go on it all in on this and give up? That's not serving you anymore. That brought you to a place where you ended up working with Ann anyway. So she cut all that away. And I mean, her business just exploded as a result. Now she travels and she's like, I am as busy as I want to be, and I'm working with my perfect clients. And it is a hard decision to make. It is, because you've worked so hard to build up that brand or build up that business model, and then all of a sudden it's just really not serving you anymore. And you almost, not for this to sound wrong, but you almost feel like you're kind of working beneath you a little bit.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
fact that, yeah, your clients, you're really not getting to be full impact with your clients. That's how I found. I mean, that's what I found, in fact. Um,
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's people out there who that lights them up, that those clients are better served by those folks.
yes.
I
Yeah.
love what you pointed to around the whole, it sounds like she maybe hung on to things for a while. Because there's this term I use, and I really learned this lesson through that pivot. There's this idea of, I call it energetic straddling, which is like, where are
Mm.
you straddled in
Hmm.
your business? And for
Yeah.
me, what I saw was I was hanging on to the old thing, and
Hmm.
I was like, maybe we can do both. And for a couple months, I was in this in between space,
Yeah. It's a hard
and
place to be.
it was rooted in fear. And this is where it
Mhm.
all comes back to the mindset, because it's like, well, if you knew you're going to be successful no matter what would you be doing? And if you weren't worried, like, how would you show up?
Mhm.
So there's some deeper mindset around this, but the mistake certainly that I made through that chapter, and it took me some time to step out of it and really fully claim the new thing, was I thought I could speak to both. And when you do that, it's like you speak to no one, because you don't
Exactly.
really put your foot in the sand. It's like you don't
Hmm.
claim the new thing. So it's like you're not a powerful enough magnet to the new people, but you're
Yeah.
also not a powerful enough magnet to the old people. So you're kind of this generality.
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably see this a lot too, in different ways. I see this with folks around choosing a niche, or oftentimes there's this
Hmm.
fear to really own the lane that they want to be in.
Right.
So we show up in this we water things down. We show up in
Hmm.
this kind of broader, more palatable way. We try to speak to everyone, and underneath it all is this scarcity belief. It's because I know for me, I had this fear of, there aren't going to be enough clients for me at this new level, so I
Mm.
need to hang on to the old thing.
Hmm.
So, hopefully that's helpful for someone
Yeah.
to hear, because it was a great lesson, and I'm
And
grateful
it's
I went
hard
through
for
it.
people to do that. And I think it's really important for people to know that when you get to a place in your business, I always say, if you just know in your gut you should be leveling up, you should be leveling up. I mean, if you just know in your gut that the clients aren't lighting you up anymore, or you're not getting paid what you really deserve to get paid for your expertise and the skills and the knowledge that you have, like you kind of know in your spirit that you should be doing more, you should be playing a bigger game, right? That those are big red flags that you should listen to for yourself. It's really time for you to step in. And I love what you said earlier, and I use this language a lot too. Step into the identity, the new identity of the person that you want to become. So yeah, this has been a great conversation, but I think for a lot of people, they are afraid to make those leaps for whatever reason. And maybe it is a loss of revenue. And sometimes, and I tell my clients this, sometimes things will get worse before they get better because you're learning now new skills, you're learning new strategies, you're stepping into a new mindset and a new way of thinking. And just like when you first began, but the thing that you have to know is that you will have faster success because of all that foundational work that you've done up to that point. So none of that goes to waste, right? It's all just fuel to move you faster, but you can't be afraid to do that. I was going to ask you what one of the biggest mistakes you see that hold people back, but I think we probably just talked about it.
Yeah,
So,
it's some version of hanging on,
mhm,
which I on a deeper level, I also think there's that it's easy to say that's a problem, but actually the journey of growth, I remember I saw this on Instagram, I think a while back, and it was this slow motion image of a flower blooming. Have you ever
mm,
seen this before?
I haven't. No.
Okay, it's really cool. I'll see if I can find it and send it to you. And it's for those of you who are just listening. So it's basically a flower blooming and the petals are opening. And what you see is the petals open, and then right before they go into full bloom, they close again a little bit. And then the flower bursts
Mm,
into bloom. And it was a beautiful
wow,
the
that's
message
great.
behind it is like the contraction is part of the journey of
Mm,
expansion, that it's not a mistake, it's not a flaw, it's not like something's wrong, it's actually a normal thing. And
mm,
of course, does that mean, we stay there? No, ideally, like, we want to be able to move through that, but if you're in that contraction, then that's okay, it's
mhm.
normal.
And
And
also resistance is a part of that too. I love the flower. I think that's beautiful. That's such a really great visual for exactly what we're talking about. The other thing I see too, Jason, I know you probably see this, is resistance. When things feel harder, like they feel hard, it's usually a lot of times it means you're on the right track. A lot of people mistake that. I think this happens a lot where people mistake that for being out of alignment,
mm,
and so they don't push through that resistance. They're like, oh, I'm out of alignment. I see that a lot, especially in the coaching space. Oh, I'm out of alignment. Are you sure you're out of alignment? Because until you push through it and you really do that and you're successful with it, then you can make the decision. To me, they don't really get to a place where they're making a smart decision. uh,
yeah, it's such an important distinction because alignment doesn't mean easy.
no,
Actually,
and a lot of
some
people
of
I
the
do
most
think that. Yes.
right. I mean, some of the most aligned decisions that I've ever made have been the hardest. And yet I knew, and on a soul level, like, I just felt
Hmm.
in my being that they were right. And so I think it's important to know that. And for me, I can feel the difference between the part of myself that wants to run away or feels the resistance, it's the fear, versus
Yes.
that deeper level of like gut truth of like, okay, I know even if this is hard, this is my path. And I can
Mm.
trust that.
Yeah. How do you push through fear, Jason? Or how do you look at fear? I know that's really, fear comes at every new level, I think, in some form, but I think you get better at recognizing it and pushing through it. And I have kind of an analogy that I use, or a metaphor that I use for getting through fear, but I would love to know what your take on it is.
Well, I try not to push through it. I try to I mean, if we look at on a deeper level, like, what is fear? It's like, I'm a big fan of parts work, and my belief is it's there's a part of us that just doesn't feel safe.
Hmm.
And whenever you're doing something new, it's like we have these bodies that are designed to keep us safe. Our brains, our nervous systems are designed to keep us alive. And
Right.
so expansion feels it's like a threat to our life. Our body doesn't know the difference between that and
Hmm.
like a tiger running at us. So it's like, if you imagine if you had like a little kid who came up to you and said, "I'm terrified," what would you do? You'd probably, wrap the kid in your arms and you'd love it and you say, "Hey, like, I got you. I'm here." So the way I work with fear in myself is very much like that. It's I notice the part of me that's feeling afraid, and I try to be as gentle and compassionate and loving as I can to that part of myself. And sometimes that's just as simple as putting my hand on my heart and saying, "Hey, like, I got you. Like, I see that you're afraid, and that's okay. Like, I'm not trying to push through that or make it go away. It's honoring that." and also that that can be there, and it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to take action from that place or listen to that, but I
Mm-hmm.
can almost like be the parent to that part of
Yeah.
myself that's feeling the fear. And I find when I do that and I meet that within myself, it softens a little bit, and it's not that I don't feel the fear, it's still there. I can just allow it to be on the journey,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't have to run the show or drive the bus. I'm still
Yeah,
in the
and that's
driver's
the
seat.
important thing. You don't let it run, you don't let it run you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I always say fear is like a muscle. You don't go to the gym and do a bicep curl and go, oh, hey, look at my muscle, right? You build it up over time. So the more you work through fear, the more you are resilient and you push through that and you know that you're going to come out better on the other side. To me, it's like building that muscle where
Yeah.
it doesn't affect you quite the same way. Now, that's not to say if there's not something really big. I have made some extremely big decisions in my life that it could have gone terribly wrong as far as my business, but they turned out to be, and they were scary. For me, it was prayer, but knowing what was on the other side of that, and I think you said it too, like in your gut, you really feel like, oh, this is what you should be doing. But fear is always going to come in some form. Anytime you're getting uncomfortable, you're leveling up. I didn't mean for this show to go all of this direction, but it's been really
It's
good.
good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, diving into this stuff. I could talk about it all day. But, it is important for people to know that these things come at all different levels, not just when you're beginning, not just when you're a new entrepreneur, but when you're starting to make big
Yeah.
moves can investing bigger into a coach, right? Investing something that you never thought you would ever do, more than most people would make in a year. That can be a scary move, right? There's so many things that can come along the way. And you just have to realize that fear is not, it's there to protect us, but it's not there to rule us or to drive us. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so good. What final thoughts of what you would like to leave people with?
Just say, like, you probably know the thing that you're being called to do, and maybe it's even uncomfortable to hear that because there's a part of you that's like, I know deep down I need to let go of this client. I need to make this pivot. My invitation to you would be like, what if you trusted that? What if you
Mm-hmm.
trusted that what's on the other side of that is so much more than you could ever possibly imagine? That's not a contraction, but an expansion.
Yeah.
And at least in my life, the more I listen to that, the more that I find so much more of what I really want. So
Mm-hmm.
my invitation would be maybe today you might consider listening to that voice.
Yeah, I love that. What are your big goals going forward, Jason? We've seen AI come on. We've seen a lot of shifts and changes in the market. So, what is the plan for you?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't have like super defined goals in the sense of, here's exactly the revenue we're gonna create. And I have an intention. And to me, for what it's about is showing up and being an expression of the deepest truth that I can bring to the world, and to help people heal through the path of business, because that's what I'm here for. And so to me, that's the intention. That's what I bring to the work that I do, and the way that that ripples out into the clients that I get to serve and the business that I get to create. I'm excited for what that looks like. I don't have a I don't I try not to define it too heavily with my mind. So my goal is really to just continue to do that work in the world, and to continue to serve in the way that I'm being called to serve.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. This has been so great having you on. Thank you again for your time. Let's make your brilliance impossible to ignore. And you please subscribe to the show. And again, share it when you hear it. The sharing is caring, I always say. So thanks for being here. God bless you. Jason, thanks again.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for tuning into the Expert in You Showcase, where we spotlight bold entrepreneurs and powerful ideas that are shaping the future of business. If you're an established expert, consultant, or service based entrepreneur ready to make your $1 million leap, it's time to elevate your positioning, power up your premium offers, and turn visibility into high revenue opportunities. At Expert in You, we don't just help you scale, we help you own your market, become the obvious choice, and create a business that brings in 50 $1,000 to $100,000 clients, months, or even days. If you're done with outdated strategies and tactics, undercharging, or working too hard for too little, let's change that strategically. Build a $1 million business and beyond by booking a call with acarden.com, and we'll map out your personalized path to scale with premium positioning, high impact marketing, and leverage systems that actually convert.